Morning students, I am Sirisha, PGT Botany, Chaipeta KGTV, and I am going to teach you today about the unit microbiology. This is a very important chapter, and in this unit we will going to learn about what is microbiology, introduction of bacteria, and morphology of bacteria, structure of bacteria, nutrition in bacteria, and reproduction in bacteria. So we were going to learn about more detail of bacteria in this video. Later on in the next video, I will discuss about the next chapter, that is about virus. So in this video, we will learn about the bacteria. Okay. First, what is microbiology? Microbiology is a branch of biology that deals with the scientific study of microorganisms like bacteria, virus, protozoans, and microscopic algae and fungi. So, before I told microbiology, in this we are going to learn about the bacteria and virus. Not only bacteria and virus, there are some other microorganisms. What are these microorganisms? Microorganisms means they are very small. We can't see through our naked eye. So that is called as a microscope we will say. Microscope is the instrument which we observe only the microorganisms which we can't see through our naked eye. That is the reason these bacteria, virus, protozoans, and some algae and fungi we could not see through our naked eye. We can see only through the microscope. So these organisms are called as a microorganisms, and the branch of biology which deals with the microorganisms is called as the microbiology. So what is microbiology means, what you will answer? Microbiology is a branch of biology that deals with the scientific study of microorganisms like bacteria, virus, protozoans, and microscopic algae and fungi. So what is micro means? Micros is derived from the Greek word which means small. Okay. Micros means small. Bios means life, and logos means study. So microbiology means micro means small, bios means life, and logos means study. Microorganisms or microbes play a major role in the every field of human endeavor. They affect human life in several ways. We are surrounded with this bacteria, children. The bacteria we can't see through our naked eye. That is, we can see only plants, animals, or human beings, or whatever. Some small things also you can see. You can read even small words from the board, but you can't see the bacteria which is present all over the environment. You can't see. That is because of it is very small. It is very small microorganisms. We can see only these in microscope. So how these are affecting in human life? That is, these bacteria, we are living with this in this world. Even bacteria are living here. Bacteria, virus, algae, fungi, all are living. So we are living in this environment, and how this bacteria are getting affected? Are they useful to us or are they harmful to us? Yes, some bacteria are very useful to us, but some bacteria are affecting, we are getting diseases because of some bacteria. Even same, viruses also plays a major role in our human life, and it also affects not only plants, also in animals. So how we came to know about the microorganisms are also there in this world. There was a scientist, Anton von Leeuwenhoek, who discovered these microorganisms for the first time. Anton von Leeuwenhoek discovered a world of invisible creatures, and he named them as animalcules. Animalcules means small animals. He found this almost everywhere he looked, like water droplets, particles of soil, his teeth scrapings, etc. As he was a scientist, he used to observe each and everything about these microorganisms. He found that some small animal-like structures are there, some organisms are there. So, which we can't see through the naked eye, and these are present everywhere. Wherever he see, like even water droplets or in the soil, or either in the teeth, if we see also some bacteria, like those some microorganisms are present. That is his works on all. This scientist, he is a scientist. He was a scientist, so he observed each and everything and found some microorganisms are also present. The credit of observation and description of bacteria goes to Anton von Leeuwenhoek in the year 1674. Due to his pioneering work, he is regarded as father of microbiology. Who is the father of microbiology? You should answer Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Who is the father of microbiology? Anton von Leeuwenhoek. And when did he got his credit? He got in the year 1674. Where did he, what he named these microorganisms is, he named these microorganisms as animalcules. Okay. And coming to the bacteria, Ehrenberg coined the term bacteria. Louis Pasteur in 1850s, a French chemist and a microbiologist who was one of the most important founder of medical microbiology. He developed vaccines to cure many dangerous illnesses such as anthrax and rabies. He also successfully invented a way to pasteurize milk and make it safe from tuberculosis. In earlier chapters, when you are in 8th or 9th also, you studied about these microorganisms and about also the Louis Pasteur. You remember Louis Pasteur? And because of his pasteurization of milk, it is named as a pasteurizer. The word is used to pasteurize after this scientist, Louis Pasteur. He only first found that there are some bacteria in the milk, and this is also causing some diseases like illness, and he also developed many vaccines and also antidotes. He also invented some antidotes to cure some diseases like anthrax and rabies, and that is why he is an important founder for the medical microbiology. Medical microbiology is it is the treatment. He is giving some treatment for the diseases. So Louis Pasteur is regarded as the father of bacteriology. Before we studied father of microbiology. Now we are studying father of bacteriology. Father of bacteriology is Louis Pasteur. Due to his extensive research on bacteria, he is regarded as the father of bacteriology. And Koch experiments demonstrated that each specific disease is caused by a specific microorganism, which is the concept of germ theory of diseases. Germ theory of diseases is a principle, that is, only microorganisms are responsible for the diseases. That is the principle of germ theory of diseases. And Louis Pasteur and also Koch. Koch is another scientist. He also demonstrated that each specific disease is due to a microorganism. That every disease is due to some microorganism. That's what the Koch tried to explain in his experiments. Even Louis Pasteur and Koch also tried to demonstrate that microorganisms are responsible for certain diseases in the concept of germ theory of diseases. Again, I am saying germ theory of diseases is a principle that it states that the specific disease is caused by a specific organism, like a microorganism. And Louis Pasteur is known as father of bacteriology. And where is the bacteria placed in the Whittaker's Five Kingdom classification? Do you remember in the earlier classes in intermediate first year, did you learn about the Whittaker's Five Kingdom classification? Do you remember? Yes, the five kingdom classification is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. And what is this kingdom Monera? Monera kingdom is completely about unicellular prokaryotes. What are these unicellular prokaryotes? Prokaryotes means they have no proper nucleus. Proper nucleus means in every nucleus will have a nuclear membrane, nuclear plasm, etc. But here they do not have any nucleus. Proper nucleus it does not have. But the genetic material is present. But it is no nuclear membrane, or it is not having a no nuclear membrane or no nuclear plasm, and etc. So it is considered as prokaryotes. Prokaryotes means they do not have any proper nucleus. They also doesn't have some cell organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, etc. Like these like membrane bounded cell organelles are there, like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi complex. These do not have. These are also absent in the these prokaryotes. And archaebacteria, eubacteria, cyanobacterium, and mycoplasmas include under Monera kingdom. So again, bacteria, the bacteria or you can say these prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are divided again into some subgroups like archaebacteria, eubacteria, cyanobacteria, and mycoplasmas. All these are related to the bacteria. Okay, archaebacteria are most primitive, old, ancient times. That time these bacteria evolved. These archaebacteria means they evolved in ancient times. These are old bacteria, and the eubacteria is the modern or present day living bacteria. And cyanobacteria are the blue-green bacteria. That is, these are having blue-green algae. Like here, these are having some photosynthetic pigments. That is the reason these bacteria, cyanobacteria, helpful in the fixing of some nitrogen. You studied about cyanobacteria in the intermediate first year class, right? The cyanobacteria helpful for the nitrogen fixation, and these are having some photosynthetic pigments. These are considered as blue-green algae, and these are some this is one a group of bacteria. And mycoplasmas are very small bacteria. That is, the size is very small. These mycoplasmas, and all these include under the Monera kingdom. And why this Monera kingdom is kept as a separate like a separate kingdom, and why it is how it is different from the other kingdoms. Like Monera is a unicellular prokaryotes, whereas Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia, all these are eukaryotes. That is, they are having some proper nucleus. These are called as the eukaryotic. Again, in Protista, again some unicellular and multicellular organisms are present, but these are considered under the eukaryotes. And how it is, and again, in what are the characteristics or some features which are differing from Monera to other kingdoms are based upon the cell wall. What is the cell wall made up of in prokaryotes, and what is the cell wall made up of in eukaryotes, like this. In Monera kingdom, it is a peptidoglycan, and in the other, in higher animals and higher in plants, it is cellulose. So how it is the cell wall composition, and nutrition, what the type of nutritions, and also the about the nucleus, and also the and this the complexity of the cell. This is very primitive in the Monera kingdom, and it is very complex in going to the higher kingdoms of classifications. And this is all about the Monera kingdom. And now we are going to learn more about the bacteria. Now we are going to learn about the morphology of bacteria. Morphology of bacteria means how it, what is the size of it, what are the shapes of it. We are going to learn now. What is the size of the bacteria? Bacteria of the majority of the bacterial size is in the range of 2.0 micrometers to 5 micrometers in length and 0.5 micrometers to 1.0 micrometers in breadth. This is the average size of the bacteria, which is ranging from 2.0 micrometers to 5 micrometers in length and to 0.5 micrometers to 1.0 micrometers in breadth. And what are the shapes of the bacteria? Bacteria, the cell wall determines the shape of the cell. That is, how this bacteria are getting the shape is because of the cell wall. And what are the shapes, what are the types is, mainly there are three types. That is, round shape is called as the cocci, and the rod shape is called as the bacilli, and the spiral shape is called as the, and the spirally coiled is nothing but you can say it is a spiral shape. So mainly there are three types: cocci, bacilli and spiral. Now coming into the detail, we will learn like how many cocci, how many shapes in this cocci, how many types are there, and in this bacilli how many types are there, and again in this spiral how many types are there. I will discuss now. Based on the number and arrangement of the bacteria, coccal forms are named as Monococcus, Diplococcus, Tetracoccus, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus and Sarcinium. Monococcus. Monococcus means a single spherical coccus, means it's a single one which is rounded form. That is called as the monococcus. And what is Diplococcus? Diplococcus, a pair of spherical coccus. That is, spherical coccus are like two balls, like ball-like structures. If you see in the diagram, two balls are placed in side by side. Then it is called the diplococci. That is called as the diplococci or diplococcus. Means it is having a two. There are two cocci. Okay. Coccus means round in shape, and monococcus, diplococcus. Diplo means two, mono means one. Now tetracoccus. Tetra means four, right? Tetracoccus, group of four spherical coccus. There four like a tetrad. See in the C it is given as a tetracoccus, right? That is the group of four spherical coccus. And streptococcus, a linear chain of cells in a row. That is, it is like a chain of cells, a chain of rounded cells are there. That is called as the streptococcus. And staphylococcus, irregular pattern of arrangement of cells producing bunches. They are present in like bunches, or all these spherical cocci, if they are like in bunches form, then that is called as the staphylococcus. What is the Sarcinae? Sarcinae is the cells are arranged in the cubes of 8. Means there are 8 rounded cocci are it is in the form of a sarcinae. It is called as a sarcinae, means the cells are arranged in the cubes of 8. So these are all are spherical in shape, means all are in coccal forms. Coccal forms means rounded forms, and these are the types on that: monococcus, diplococcus, tetracoccus, streptococcus, staphylococcus and sarcinae. And based on the number and arrangement of bacteria, bacillus forms are named as monobacillus, diplobacillus, streptobacillus. As you studied in the coccal forms, the same, like here also in bacillus forms, there monobacillus means a single elongated cell, and diplobacillus means a paired cells are. Bacillus means that is two are there, two rod-like cell structures. These are some elongated structure. This is called as the monobacillus, and if there are two means diplobacillus there. And now streptobacillus. Streptobacillus, as we learned already in a streptococci, means it is a chain of. It is a strepto means it is a chain of bacilli appearing like a straws. This is called as the streptobacillus. So bacillus forms are three types again: monobacillus, diplobacillus, streptobacillus. Now coming to the spiral forms. Spiral forms means like coiled. the coil type. And again in this also there are again three types, that is vibrio, spirillum and spirochete. Vibriot shape means a comma shape, you can say just one twist. Cells having less than one twist is called as the vibrio shape or vibriot shape. It is or you can say a comma shaped structure is nothing but the vibrio. And spirillum. Spirillum cells that have more than one twist. That is, it is having like a spring. Is you know about the spring, how it looks. This is having a one or two twists, more than one. It is called as the spirillum. And spirochete. It is a slender, long and corkscrew shaped. Like it is a little bit longer spiral structure, and it is moreover looking like a corkscrew. And this is this shape is called as a spirochete form. And not only these forms, some bacteria are in the long chains in the form of thread-like filament in the Bigotia. In Bigotia, some bacteria are in the form of long chains. These are the different types of shapes. We learned focal shape, bacillus form shapes and the spiral shapes. In this again coccade, again we learned some forms, and in bacillus also there are some forms, and spiral also there are some forms. All these you have to write in detail if the shape of the bacteria is, if the question arises like this, you have to describe each and everything like this. Now we will learn the structure of bacteria. Here we already learned about the structure of prokaryote or the bacterial cell in the previous classes. Again we will learn once again this structure of bacteria. In this structure of bacteria, the cell wall is present. The fluid matrix of the cell is the cytoplasm. The no well-defined nucleus, that is nuclear membrane, is absent. We already discussed that bacteria or these prokaryotes doesn't have any proper nucleus, but they have cell wall, cytoplasm, and remaining cell organelles are also absent. And next, the genetic material or the genophore is in the form of single chromosome or the circular DNA. That is, as I said, no nucleus is not present, but the genetic material DNA is present. That is, it is in the form of a circular DNA in the or it is like a single chromosome. This is called, the genetic material is called as the genophore. If you say what is genophore, means the genetic material which is in the form of a single chromosome or a circular DNA. This is called as the genophore. And now, smaller circular DNA called plasmids are present outside the genome. There are some extra chromosomal bits and these are called as the plasmids. Extra chromosomal DNA also you can say, or you can say small circular DNA called plasmids. These are present. These are also present other than the genophore. And cell organelles are absent. That is, cell organelles which are membrane bounded organelles, these are all absent. But ribosomes are present. We have ribosomes in the bacterial cell. The enfoldings of the plasma membrane are called mesosomes, and these are present. Mesosomes means the cell wall is folded inside. Then this folding is called as the mesosomes. And here in this mesosomes, it is very important in the respiration, which is the energy which is the ATP which are formed here, the ATP which are formed in the respiration, and this mesosome plays a very important role in that because all enzymes are present here. And coming to the flagella, and bacteria may be motile or non-motile. If the flagella are present, they are motile. That is, they can move with the help of flagella. And if the flagella are not present, they are non-motile. This is the simple structure of the bacteria. Based on the number and distribution of flagella, bacteria are classified as monotrichous, lophotrichous, amphitrichous and peritrichous. Monotrichous, mono means single, one means a single polar flagella on one side of the cell. That is, when flagella is present, but it is only at one side. On any side it is present, but only one flagella is present. Then that bacteria is called as the monotrichous. And what is lophotrichous? Lophotrichous means a tuft of flagella at one pole of the cell. Means more than one, some 2 or 3 flagella are present at one end. That is, a tuft of flagella at one pole of the cell is called as the lophotrichous. What is amphitrichous? A single flagellum at each end of the cell. Means it is a single flagellum is present, but at two sides. It is present on the two polar ends. That is called as the amphitrichous. A single flagellum at each end of the cell is called as the amphitrichous. What is peritrichous? Peritrichous means flagella distributed over entire cell. The cell is anywhere the flagella may be present, and it is not like it is confined to only one place. It is present all over the entire cell. And that type of flagella which are present on entire cell, it is called as the peritrichous. So based on this number and distribution of flagella also you can get a question. So how, based on the number and the distribution of flagella, how these bacteria are classified? They are classified in like 4 types. That is monotrichous, lophotrichous, amphitrichous and peritrichous. And this you have to draw the diagram and you can write about it. And now again I am giving a definition of the plasmid. Plasmids are the self-duplicating small circular double-stranded DNA molecules are called as the plasmids. Plasmids means they are some extra chromosomal DNA. That is, we already know that there is a DNA that is it is in the form of the genophore, and this genophore is having one it is in the form of chromosome or the DNA. And apart from this genetic material, some extra chromosomal part, or that is called as the plasmid. It may be a circular double-stranded DNA, and this is called as the plasmids. And these are used as the vectors in modern genetic engineering. That is, why these are used as vectors in modern genetic engineering is this is because of it is having a property called self-duplicating property. It can multiply. If it can multiply means then if the plasmid, suppose for an example of a plasmid, if it is injected, that it should secrete some enzyme. It is responsible for certain enzyme. Suppose you can say it is that plasmid can secrete insulin, and this vector when placed in the bacterial cell, when injected into the bacterial cell, it can then duplicates, and then more enzyme is produced, and then the requirement of that enzyme will be sufficient to that organism. That is why these plasmids are mostly used in the genetic engineering. In the next chapters we will learn about the genetic engineering, how these bacteria are used in the genetic engineering, and about the biotechnology. You will more learn about these plasmids using as vectors. Coming to the nutrition in bacteria. Mainly there is in the nutrition of bacteria, it is divided like it is autotrophic or heterotrophic. First two, if you see in this table, they are autotrophs, and the next two are the heterotrophs. Mainly they are divided into autotrophs and heterotrophs. In this autotrophs, again they are divided into photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs, and in heteroautotrophs, photoheterotrophs and chemoheterotrophs. Photoautotrophs means, photo means light. You already know this. Photoautotrophs means light. They get this energy from the light. What is the energy source means, you can say that the energy source is from light. From the light only they get some energy. And what is the carbon source in this is carbon dioxide. The bacterial photosynthesis takes place in these photoautotrophs. That is the reason how this energy is getting means it is getting the energy from the light, and the carbon source here it is the carbon dioxide. And coming to the examples of photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs are chromacium and chlorobium. And here coming to the chemoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophs, these the energy is derived from the inorganic compounds. So here we learnt about the nitrogen fixation, and some bacteria, nitrosomonas or nitrobacteria. These are anaerobic type. These are anaerobes, and these they get these energy from the inorganic compounds. Okay, from the inorganic compounds present in the soil, these derive the energy. And what is the carbon sources? Carbon source is nothing but the carbon dioxide. So these are called as the chemoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophs examples: Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, Begonia, and Methanogens. Methanogens are the bacteria which are found in cows and buffaloes. They produce some biogas. And here, photoheterotrophs. Photoheterotrophs. Heterotrophs means, what is this autotroph? Autotroph means self. They can prepare their own nutrition. That is called as autotrophs. Now coming to the heterotrophs. Heterotrophs means they have to depend on some plants or animals. It has to depend. So photoheterotrophs means these are the bacteria which depend on other plant or other host. It depends on some other plants or animals. It is called as the photoheterotrophs, and they also use the energy source is the light, and the carbon source is the organic compounds. And rhodospirillum and rhodopseudomonas are the examples for the photoheterotrophs. And mostly these heterotrophs are saprophytes and parasites. The heterotrophs are mainly, majority are chemoheterotrophs only. Chemoheterotrophs means saprophytes and parasites. They depend on other hosts. That is, it is a parasite or a saprophyte. Then what are the energy source in this? Is the energy source are the organic compounds, and also the carbon source also the organic compounds. Here the examples of the saprophytes is bacillus, and the parasites are the examples like xanthomonas and salmonella. These, if you the nutrition in bacteria is asked, if you describe like this, it will be little bit clear, and they will ask definitely the question will be like, what is the energy source and carbon source of the bacteria regarding nutrition. So you have to describe it, what are the types of nutrition and the energy source and the carbon source, and with the examples. Now, reproduction in bacteria. So mainly reproduction is of two types, like asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual is also considered like a vegetative reproduction. So what is this asexual reproduction in bacteria? It is by binary fission. Asexual reproduction is mainly by binary fission. Binary fission, you have learned in case of amoeba. The same even bacteria reproduce by binary fission. In this process, the dividing bacterial cell produces two genetically identical daughter cells. One cell will divide into two. This is by the cytoplasmic division. This is called as the binary fission. In the diagram, just observe the bacterial cell, single bacterial cell. The DNA first duplicates. That is, it is doubling itself. Though it is first doubled and it is getting separated, and later on the cytoplasm will get separated, like a construction appears between the two cells, and that cell goes into deep and two cells divide, and this is called as the binary fission. In this process, the dividing bacterial cell produces two genetically identical daughter cells. The interval of time between two successive binary fissions of the cell is known as the generation time or the doubling time. So, what the time which is taken for this binary fission, it is known as the generation time. Under unfavorable conditions, they produce spores. Means asexual reproduction, it is not only through binary fission, also it can reproduce by spores or endospores. Means it is the whole cytoplasm come into one side of the cell, and it develops its own thicker cell wall, and it forms like a spore, and this spore is called as the endospores, and when favorable conditions are there, again this bacteria will survive. So this asexual reproduction is of binary fission and endospores. Now we come to the sexual reproduction in bacteria. Sexual reproduction in bacteria means here no sex organs or nothing like that, because it is a very primitive organism. This is not having that complex sex organs. It is only the sexual reproduction here in bacteria is nothing but the gene transfer from one bacteria to the another bacteria. How this gene transfer or the DNA transfer occurring in the sexual reproduction in bacteria, we were going to see. Bacteria also reproduces by a sort of sexual reproduction by adopting a primitive type of DNA transfer from one bacterium to the other. Means here sexual reproduction is the DNA transfer from one bacterium to another bacteria. How the DNA is getting transferred from one bacteria to the another bacteria. It is of three types: conjugation, transformation, transduction. Conjugation means it is occurring between two bacteria. Means conjugation, in conjugation the process, the two bacteria are involved. But in transformation, it is occurring between the naked DNA and the bacteria. Here only one bacteria is there, but this bacteria is getting a DNA from its surroundings. And transduction. Transduction is occurring between virus and bacteria. Here virus is involved in the sexual reproduction. That process is called as the transduction. And we are going to learn in detail what is the conjugation, transformation and transduction. And in conjugation, if you see this diagram, you will understand clearly how the DNA is getting transferred from one bacteria to the another. Here, one bacteria which is having the plasmid DNA or the this fertility factor, which is called as the F. If the bacteria which is having this plasmid DNA, it is called as the F plus or the donor bacterium. And the bacterium without the plasmid, the blue one, which you can see in this diagram, here there is no plasmid. So this is called as the F minus or the recipient bacterium. This is not having any plasmid. So this is called as a recipient bacterium. And the bacterium which is having the plasmid, that is called as the donor bacteria, because it is donating that its own DNA to the other bacterium. How it is this DNA is travel? Like see, if you see a small pilus is there. Pilus is nothing but the extension of the cytoplasm of the bacteria. The cytoplasmic extension, when it comes in contact with the other bacteria, it forms like a cytoplasmic bridge. That is called as the bridge here. In between, that is called as a cytoplasmic bridge. And this to this bridge or this conjugation tube, or through this conjugation tube, the DNA is getting transferred. For how the first the plasmid DNA, it replicates. One strand of the DNA will slowly passes into the other bacteria through the conjugation tube. And in that after it reaches to the other bacteria, and now that bacteria is having its own DNA, and again it self duplicates, that is it replicates itself, and again it becomes a double stranded. And now the donor which is having the DNA, that is also getting replicated again, and again it will become a double stranded. And later on these two cells again slowly separate. Now the recipient cell is also having the DNA. Now this also became a F plus. From F plus bacteria, again other also became a F minus, also became F plus here. Now this process is only clearly explained in the conjugation. If you understand this structure, what is happening in this conjugation, you can write it. You can write it on your own, or you can understand. First understand what is a donor bacterium, what is a recipient bacterium, what is F plus, what is F minus. F plus is the donor bacterium which is having the plasmid DNA, and F minus means it is not having any DNA. It is called as the recipient bacterium. And what is this conjugation tube? The pilus is responsible for forming the conjugation tube between two bacterial cells, and the DNA is getting slowly transferred into the other bacteria. and then slowly at the last step both the cells get separated. This is a type of sexual reproduction, that is a gene transfer in the bacteria. This process is the conjugation. And now in detail, if you see the conjugation, you can first, this is observed by Lederberg and Totem. Lederberg and Totem, two scientists, they first observed that bacteria, in these bacteria, the gene transfer is taking place, and they found it in the one bacteria called E. coli, E. coli bacteria or Escherichia coli. This, in this bacteria only they first observed. Lederberg and Totem observed first this process, this conjugation process. The transfer of genetic material DNA between two live bacteria is called conjugation. The definition is transfer of genetic material between two live bacteria is called conjugation. The cell with F plasmid is called F plus, and it is called as a donor, and the cell without F plasmid is called F minus plasmid. F is nothing but the fertility factor, and F plus means it is a donor, F minus means it is a recipient. During conjugation, F plus and F minus cells bind with each other with the help of sex pilus, which forms a bridge between them. The F plasmid replicates and replicated DNA passes through the bridge to the F minus cell. The F minus cell becomes F plus cell, and as it receives the F plasmid. As I described in the diagram, if you remember and if you read this, you will understand more better. After conjugation, the two cells separate from each other. Conjugation is a conservative process in that the donor bacterium generally retains a copy of the genetic material being transferred. It is not that F plus is not giving the whole bacterium, it is giving one part of it. It is again, it is having one copy, and other copy it is getting transferred to the other bacteria. This is all about the conjugation. And coming to the second type of reproduction, that is transformation. This mode of bacterial genetic recombination was discovered by Frederick Griffith in 1928. In which bacteria he found this? Streptococcus pneumonia. In the other conjugation, the scientist found in the Escherichia coli, E. coli. In transformation, the bacteria they found is Streptococcus pneumonia. They discovered this process, transformation. The mode of bacterial genetic recombination was discovered by Frederick Griffith in Streptococcus pneumonia. What happens in the transformation? If you see the diagram, some DNA fragments are present outside the cell. Maybe the death of the cell happened, so the DNA, broken DNA pigments, these broken DNA fragments, they are surrounded in the cell, or they are just around the bacteria, which is this healthy bacteria. In this healthy bacteria, this is this small DNA fragment is entering into that cell, and after entering into the bacterial cell, what happens? It gets integrated into it. It is integrated into it with the bacterial DNA. Already some DNA is present inside the bacteria, right? And what happens? The other DNA which is present outside the cell gets inside, like it comes inside the cell and gets integrated with the bacterial DNA. And and again this bacterial DNA, if it replicates, again it will having the both its DNA and also the other DNA. And after integrating, it may also sometimes it may integrate, or sometimes it remain as a plasmid separately. So in the diagram you can see it is not integrating with the DNA. It is forming a separate circular plasmid. See. So in this transformation means the DNA will the uptake of the DNA fragments into the cell and gets integrated into the DNA. Transformation is the uptake of naked DNA fragments from the surrounding environment and the expression of that genetic information in the recipient cell. That is, the recipient cell has now acquired the characteristic of the that is previously lacked. This is the bacterial chromosome, the bacterial DNA, which is in the blue color. This is having no character even of the other bacteria. The other bacteria, which is in the red color, now it is having that characteristic also. That is, it is integrated with the bacterial DNA. This process is called as the transformation. First one we learned as the conjugation, second one is the transformation, and now third one, which is more important, that is the transduction. This process was discovered by Lederberg and Zinder in 1951 in one bacteria called Salmonella typhimurium. Lederberg and Zinder, they found this transduction process in the bacteria Salmonella typhimurium. The transfer of genetic material from one bacterium to another through bacteriophage is known as transduction. As I told, transduction is between virus and bacteria. So this virus is called as a bacteriophage, or you can say phage, P-H-A-G-E, bacteriophage. Okay. The transfer of genetic material from one bacterium to another bacterium through bacteriophage is known as transduction. Here, see the bacteria, and on the bacteria some virus is sitting on that, and that virus is incorporating that its own DNA into the cell, and both are getting after entering, what happened? All the bacterial DNA and also the virus DNA gets degraded, broken into many pieces, and each will form into individual virus after the breaking of the cell. In detail we will learn in the virus about this. Is also called as a lytic cycle. We will learn in the virus chapter. This process is called as the transduction. What is the transduction? Means the transfer of genetic material from one bacterium to another bacterium through bacteriophage is known as transduction. So with this we are completing the reproduction in the bacteria. So here in this diagram you can see everything about the bacterial transduction, which is the green one is the bacterial DNA and pink one is the viral DNA. This completes the reproduction in the bacteria, and still we have to learn about the economic importance of bacteria, but we will learn in the next class, next session about while discussing about the virus. I will discuss even the economic importance of the bacteria. Till this I am ending and stopping the chapter bacteria. Write down the questions, very short answer. What is genophore? What is a plasmid? What is its significance? What is transduction? Who discovered it and in which organism? Short answer questions. How are bacteria classified on basis of number and distribution of flagella? What are nutritional groups of bacteria based on their source of energy and carbon? Explain the conjugation in bacteria. Hope you understood bacteria chapter. In the next session, I am going to discuss about the economic importance of bacteria and more about the virus. Thank you, children.